devotional about evolution tonight asks the question, two-celled life? Here's a one-celled organism. We don't normally see it like this because it's too small. But the mythology of evolution is that stuff just was sitting around and maybe electricity hit the ground and things moved together and pop, a one-celled creature emerged, and from that came everything. So you would think that in this little bit by little bit, change this, change that, the color might change, and it improves it bit by bit over a long time. You would think that the next step was a two-celled life. There's a problem here. Many single-celled forms of life exist, but no known forms of animal life have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 cells. It skips right over into 6. And I give you the references there. Perhaps the simplest forms of multicellular life are the myxozoans, which have 6 to 12 cells. While they are quite distinct from other multicellular life, they are even more distinct from single-celled life. The difference is deep. The difference is characteristic. So they don't seem to be related in any way. And again, the references to where they talk about all of this. So if they evolved from anywhere, if the 6 to 12 celled animal evolved from anywhere, it seems to have come from a higher form rather than a lower form, which is the opposite of evolution, devolution, becoming simpler, not more complex. There are other types. There are colonial forms of life. They're unlikely bridge between single-celled life and multicelled life. The degree of cellular differences between colonial forms of life and the simplest multicellular forms of life is vast, greatly different. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm reporting this. Yes?
These are the ones that build up on top of each other like the reef?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But the difference is very vast, and Libby Henrietta Hyman talked about that in Vertebrates. And then, nor do diplomonads. I think this is what diplomats are made out of, I'm not sure. Which have 2 nuclei and 4 flagella. I know flagella, the little whip things at the end, and goes like that, and it projects the thing. So it's has a 4-engine motorboat thing, and 2 nuclei. They bridge the gap. He says they don't seem to bridge the gap. Diplomonads are usually parasites. Great. Known forms of life with 6 to 20 cells are parasites. So they must have a complex animal as a host to provide such functions as respiration and digestion. They can't live on their own. We can't start with these guys. We have to find a more advanced animal, and then these guys come along and attach themselves to them. So if macroevolution, let me just remind you that macroevolution means the change from one animal to another, one species to another, not just the color of one moth to a different color. That's called microevolution. We see that. Things change along the way, but that doesn't, the dog doesn't change into a tiger. So microevolution, if it happened, let's just suppose one should find many transitional forms of life in this regard with 2 to 20 cells. We have one cell, we have 6 to 20, we have nothing in between, filling the gap between the one-celled and the many-celled organisms. So a fairly easy thing to understand, even if all the information is complex. You get down to it, and there's no evidence of evolution back down here where they're telling us it all began. Just changed.